So that's phase one of the day's project successfully completed. I have managed to empty the bilges. This bilge here, I used a manual pump to pump it out into a jerry can, and then I used these oil absorbent pads to soak up the remainder. They work really well for oil, not so much with water, but for oil it just slurps it right up, so worth the money. And then I used a biodegradable cleaner, grease cutter, to get the residue out of the bilge. So the bilge is nice and white again, like it was. And then I poured some fresh water down the bilge and let the bilge pump that out. Of course, bilge can only empty out so much. When the switch turns off on the bilge pump, the water that's in the hose runs back into the bilge. So there's probably, I don't know, a couple of cups in the bilge still, but it's just water. There's no contaminated fuel in there, so that's a good thing. Have a look. So there it is, all nice and clean again. A little bit of debris in there from, I think some of that's algae. The old fuel was contaminated in there, and you can see there's a little bit of stain on the paint, but nothing that a little bit of elbow grease and some cleaner won't take care of. So I'm going to call that a success. That's this bilge. I have another bilge. This one here. This is my water tanks. I have two water tanks. There's one here. It's out in the open, and then there's one here that slides up underneath the. You see the far end of it right there. There. And there is water in this bilge. I'm not sure how it got down in there. So regardless of how the water got down in there, it needs to be cleaned out. Fortunately, there's not that much of it, so I am going to empty my jerry cans, and then I'll come back and clean the rest of this out. This is maybe, I don't know, half-inch, an inch sitting there, but I just don't have any more room in the jerry cans to get rid of it, so that'll have to wait. In the meantime, I'm happy with that bilge, nice and clean. I can leave my bilge pump on, so that in the event that a hose breaks or something, at least I've got something pumping water back out. This is a little bit, or was a little bit disconcerting. So that's part one of today's project. Part two is to lift the cockpit floor and get up in there and start prepping the fuel tank areas for a new fuel tank. But that's another story. You picked a great day to be on the boat. Sun is shining, not a cloud in the sky. It's warm. I haven't done anything and I'm already starting to sweat. But I thought it'd be a good opportunity to come down here on the boat and relax, have some fun. Oh, and maybe do a little bit of work too. I know it's far too nice a day to be working, but work has to be done or the fun doesn't happen. So what are we doing today? Well, I want to empty the bilge of the contaminated water that's in it. I think there's a couple of gallons of water and diesel fuel in the bilge, so I'll pump that into a jerry can and dispose of it on shore. And then I want to start prepping the fuel tank areas. They are in dire need of some attention. It's kind of dark and dingy and grody down there, and there's still some foam that needs to come out, and the old tie downs. I want to create a new tie down solution for the tanks, because the old one is kind of less than spiffy. So that's what I'm up to today, just kind of hanging out, relaxing, and doing odd jobs to complete the projects that we've got going on.